Wonderful. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. I'm excited to be part of this panel moderating. My name is Luke Frye. I am a CPA with over 10 years of accounting and tax experience for startups, and I'm excited to bring you this topic with our panel on how to use AI in your accounting practice. So before we jump in, I'd actually love to make a couple intros on the puzzle side and then turn it over to Burkland to quickly introduce the folks we have joining us there as well. So first, I'm going to introduce PM focused on helping professionals like you through our software puzzle, and he is a recovering tax lawyer, Evan Wick.
Thanks, Luke. I think you covered most of it, but glad to be here today and absolutely thinking about how can we make Puzzle even better for professional users, for accountants, for bookkeepers. And as part of that thinking, looking at how we bring AI tooling into Puzzle in a way that can really be leveraged by professionals.
Awesome. Wonderful. And you'll also be hearing today from Lucy Richards, who is our chief architect in charge of engineering the implementation of AI into Puzzle. So Lucy, I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you're up to here at Puzzle.
Thanks, Luke. Yeah, I'm a full stack engineer. I've been at Puzzle for 3-ish years, and yeah, I'm doing the manual labor of making it happen. So excited where it's going.
Awesome. On the Puzzle side, we also have Helen Chong, head of marketing, and Andrew Robinson, another PM on our team as well. So while we're going through these introductions, please feel free to post any sort of comments or questions in the Q&A. And if we don't get to them as we go, we'll make sure to follow up at the end as well. So with that, DJ, I might turn it over to you both to chat a bit about your background and Burkland.
Sure, thanks. I'm here. Joining me is Megan Reed, who's accounting manager at Burkland Associates. Just some quick background on myself and Burkland. Burkland was formed about 12 and a half years ago. Our goal was to help startups grow, and we do that through a variety of support services. Bookkeeping and accounting is one of the main ones. We have over 600 bookkeeping and accounting clients. We also provide tax services, people ops / HR support, and also interim CFO services. I personally founded the accounting practice. It started with me. Now we're up around 120 people within the group, and we work with groups all over the world. So we're excited with our partnership with Puzzle, and have been excited with the progress in terms of the development of their software and their service, and happy to be here.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And Megan, I would love to hear from you if you're able to chat with us. Yeah.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I am Megan Reed. As DJ had said, I'm an accounting manager here at Burkland, and I have had the opportunity to work directly with Puzzle over the last 6 months or so to provide feedback and help develop the software even more. So excited to be here, and like DJ said, excited for our partnership with Puzzle.
Perfect. Wonderful. Well, thanks everyone for those intros, and let's just dive in with a little bit of the agenda for today. So first, I'll share a bit more big picture on how Puzzle is thinking about AI and what we've already done and what we're planning to do. And then I'll turn it over to Lucy to talk a bit more technically on what an LLM is. And then Evan will give us some examples. And then actually have Burkland, DJ, I'll have you chat after I do the big picture. So a little bit of out of order there on my part, but let's dig in. So with Puzzle, we're actually introducing a new concept that hopefully will resonate with you, and would love to hear your thoughts on it. And that is autonomous accounting. And so a component of that is, obviously, there's been a lot of automation through bank feeds and APIs and connections. And, we partner with banks like Mercury and Brex, as well as companies like Ramp to leverage APIs to get more real-time data directly into our system. We also see as accountants are, continually overworked and trying to leverage their time as best as possible, how can we build tools to help make your job better, easier, faster, and eliminate some of the mundane, repetitive work to focus more on the strategic advising? So, there's a lot of articles out there. We're going to make sure we share these slides out as well with links on some of what the Big Four is thinking about and how they're approaching it. And, we're excited to be leveraging some of this stuff. So with that, I think I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, DJ, if you want to share a little bit more big picture and, how you're thinking about AI at Burkland.
Yeah, so just to go back in time a little bit, we were early adopters of cloud-based tools before AI existed, but we saw the promise of leveraging those tools, the connectivity, the synchronization, some level of automation. That was during a time when we started this group where QuickBooks Desktop was primarily used by accounting groups, and we were amazed at the slow pace of change. Now, obviously, very few people are using desktop, and they've advanced because of the promise of this advanced productivity through cloud-based tools. We see AI as kind of the next advancement along that line. We've been really disappointed that, kind of like QuickBooks and Intuit and Desktop, how few of the big companies in the space are adjusting and leveraging AI to make their tools more productive. There are some glimpses of it, and I'll walk through what we're seeing in existing products by some of the larger companies. Why we're really excited about Puzzle is that they're young enough and determined enough as a company to be nimble enough to widely embrace the changing technology and the advancements of AI, and they're not set in their ways. So we've been really excited about what they're up to, and feel like it's going to be a group like Puzzle that really realizes the potential of AI to increase productivity and take it to the next level. So we're excited not only to help them test some of their new technologies, but can't wait for those to mature, and we're very excited about that. So right now, aside from groups like Puzzle that are about to take it to the next level, some of the larger companies that have some elements of AI/automation that we tap into is things like Bill.com and the bill payment side. They have an auto bill entry feature. I think there's a manual component to that, but they're also leveraging character recognition and a certain level of AI. I can see that the potential for that being exploited much further than they're taking it. Airbase is a company that was a client of ours before they started doing their own internal accounting work. They're a bill payment platform. They have an auto categorization feature, which is really interesting. That taps into an AI machine learning component. Expensify has smart scan receipts, which we utilize and our clients utilize. QuickBooks and Xero have an auto payment matching feature. They have bank rules and auto categorization, or at least make a recommendation based on your past inputs. All of those are better than manual exclusively, but they're not what we really need from the technology, which is to actually replace people going in and manipulating data. And since bookkeeping accounting is rules-based, we are expecting the day to come in the not too distant future where a lot of this will be handled by a machine that's smarter and faster than us. And I know Puzzle's working on that, so we're looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious to get a little bit more of your perspective, DJ, on how you see the profession evolving and what it means for people who maybe even are a bit concerned about, the computers coming for their jobs.
Yeah, I think that that within our own organization, we're looking at what we went from just providing CFO services to a multifaceted, multi-services company. So that was Burkland 2.0. And now we're looking at Burkland 3.0. And what does that mean? Harnessing this technology. I'd say the best advice would be to people to understand that this is going to happen and how to leverage that technology to provide additional value. So what this will do is free up people's time to do work that AI hasn't caught up to yet, or is more difficult for it to synthesize information and produce. There is a ton of that work out there in what we do in supporting our startup clients. So we will have more time and more focus on those elements. And so I would suggest not fighting the technology, really understanding the trajectory, and figure out, plan your angle in terms of your personal future or your company's future, in terms of how can you be on the leading edge of harnessing that technology and creating value for your clients. And if you can do that, you're going to be successful, I believe.
Love it. Absolutely. Megan, I don't know if there was anything else that you wanted to add there on either your work and how you're using either Puzzles AI or anything else would be great to hear.
Definitely. I will just chime in regarding Puzzles AI and the beta launch that recently came out, where you have the ability to click the Puzzle AI bot button and have Puzzle AI basically tell you what an expense is if you don't know it. It has been extremely helpful for our team. It just, eliminates the step of opening a secondary Google window and searching to try to make our best guess as to what the expense is. So it's been a really exciting and great addition to Puzzle that has been really helpful for our team.
Absolutely. Awesome.
DJ, DJ, I thought it was really interesting that you brought up sort of the accounting firms as helping lead some of the cloud adoption from desktop to online, for example, in the past. I'm curious, either Megan or DJ, what you've heard, if at all, from your clients so far when it comes to some of the emerging AI stuff, if they're starting to either ask questions about it, or if there's any sentiment from what you've heard from your clients so far.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, it's been a huge shift in terms of VC investment, seemingly away from fintech and crypto and NFTs, where there was so much activity. And now a lot of that focus, or most of that focus, is going into AI companies. So suddenly, since we work specifically with the startup community, we're seeing a lot of AI clients harnessing this technology and applying it in a lot of different areas. In fact, there's one company that I talked to, a prospect this morning, that is using AI to analyze satellite imagery for large power companies to optimize how they protect their power lines, keep from vegetation encroaching in them to create fire hazards. And basically everything is automated and spits out a report on the things that they need to do to make sure their infrastructure is properly maintained. So that was just like, wow. I mean, I didn't even think of that. And so we're just seeing a lot of creativity in terms of how it's being leveraged for accounting. We don't, our clients rely on us to work with groups like Puzzle work with leading groups to provide the highest level of automation that we possibly can. We've embraced that, and it's been a little bit counterintuitive because we are a fee-based company, but we do everything we can to leverage tools like Puzzle so that we can keep our costs down as low as possible. So that is counterintuitive for a fee-based company. However, when our clients recognize that, and particularly the VC community recognizes that, we get more business. So we grow, and it's a wonderful win-win situation because our clients are happy because we're, hammering economy and efficiency. At the same time, we get more clients in the future, and we're growing. We love win-win situations, and so that's why we've never looked at this as a threat. We just look at, if you provide the highest level of value you can to your clients, you're going to be in demand.
That's awesome. Really helpful, and yeah, fascinating to think about that. You're getting it from some of your clients are AI products, so understanding the tools and the business model becomes even more important. That's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to keep us moving here, switching over to talk a little bit more about some trends and predictions from Lucy Richards.
Thanks. Yeah, so I guess we're all here because as we're all aware, there's been some really interesting and cool new AI tools that have come out in the past year that has really renewed interest and excitement about AI in general. So we've seen a couple tools. If you're familiar with image generation tools like DALL-E or Midjourney, those are really common these days. If you see an interesting image online, it might have been generated by an AI. Another tool that has really brought AI to the forefront and most people are aware of is ChatGPT. And that is a large language model. So I thought maybe I could start by talking a little bit about large language models, LLMs, since that is the most that is the kind of artificial intelligence model that most people who are watching this webinar will probably interact with. Yeah, so a large language model such as ChatGPT, all it is at its most basic is just a text prediction tool. So given a set of things that given a sentence, what is the most likely word to come next in that sentence? And after that, what's the most likely word after that? And from that, it produces a sentence. At its most basic, we can think of, if you wanted to write the simplest natural language model ever that was just to write Reddit posts. Say you want to train a model that will be able to write awesome Reddit posts about either cats or dogs. How you would do that is you go to the subreddits on Reddit, you go to a cat subreddit and you go to a dog subreddit, and you download all those posts and you feed it to your model. And the model, from consuming those posts, is able to learn that if it sees the word "the" in any of these posts, 30% of the time it's followed by the word dog, 40% of the time it's followed by the word cat, and the rest of the time is followed by something else. So it learns associations like that. The is often followed by cat, etc. And cat is often followed by purrs. And so it learns it learns the probability that a certain word will happen after another word. So you train this model and you want to try it out. So what you do is you give it a word. You say, complete this sentence, and you prime it with the. And it knows that 40% of the time it's followed by cat. So it will produce the sentence, the cat purrs, most of the time. So obviously ChatGPT is way more complex and interesting than that. So how do you get to ChatGPT from there? From there, it's just a matter of feeding it tons of data. So don't train it just on cat and dog subreddits. Train it on the entire internet. GPT-4 has essentially consumed the entire internet's worth of textual data. And after that, train it to look at a larger number of variables when determining what word will come next. So in the example that I provided, I just said, if the happens, what's the word that comes next. In ChatGPT, it looks at so many variables, like the word that happened in the paragraph before and how that interacts with the word that happened, like the verb and the noun of the sentence. It's like very complex, but fundamentally it's the same concept that given a set of inputs, what's the most likely output or the most likely next word in the sentence. And I think understanding like that basic concept can really help like lift the veil on why it can be so impressive sometimes, but then so wrong sometimes. Because it's a text prediction algorithm. It's not reasoning in the way that we reason about things. So that's a basic idea. My prediction as an engineer about where we're going to see this next, I think we're going to see this enter our lives in so many different ways. Evan's going to show some awesome examples of like how we can use it now. But I think what we're going to see very soon everywhere is AI assisted use of tools. So previously, if you wanted to use if you want to make a PowerPoint, and you need to add a transition to slide 3, you have to learn how to use PowerPoint. There's tons of different menu options. In the future, pretty much all of our tools are going to have these AI assistants built into them, where you can just say, hey, add a fade out transition to slide 3, and it will know how to do that. And I'm excited for this because I will now be able to use Photoshop, which has been completely inaccessible to me until now. And we're going to see AI doing lots of drafting, drafting emails, etc. It's great at producing first drafts. It's not great at producing perfect results, but yeah.
Awesome. I love that. I think that it is a really good metaphor for just extending a user's abilities as opposed to replacing them. So with that, I might switch it over to Evan to talk a little bit more about, how we're using AI today and any more examples.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to look at a few ways that people are using AI. Lucy alluded to one in terms of communication, writing the types of emails that we've written before. I didn't like writing that first time and certainly don't want to write a fourth time. Ways that we could pull AI into our process. Puzzle's already doing some of this. And then in terms of, like Lucy said, Photoshop, for a lot of accountants, we don't need to learn Photoshop, but we do need to be really, really good at Excel and Google Sheets. And ChatGPT can bring me from average to world class in my Excel usage, and that's pretty cool. So I'm going to show you a few of those things. First, we're going to start off with an email. This is one you've probably written before. Advise somebody on why they might choose accrual basis accounting over cash. This looks like a pretty good email, but maybe I want it shorter. This prospective client's actually like a childhood friend of mine. Cool. Am I going to send this email to my friend, the new client, without reading it? No. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to edit it in my email, and I'm going to make some tweaks. Maybe I'll append my Calendly link, and I'll send it out. But something that would have taken me a minute is taking me much less time. You can think of some other ones. Maybe somebody hasn't paid your bills and you need to end their service if they don't pay you. Maybe You need to tell somebody to stop commingling their personal and business funds. The AI is great at that. I didn't even spell commingling right. It's fast. Open a separate business bank account, use it exclusively. That's what we need clients to hear. So spend less time writing these emails, spend more time doing the work that you care about. Let's check out AI and Puzzle. This is a transaction for a place called Han Dynasty, not a place I'm familiar with. But the AI is, we asked it about it. It said, Han Dynasty is likely a restaurant or a food vendor. You should probably categorize this as meals of some sort. How is it that the AI knows that this is a restaurant when, if we Google Han Dynasty, we learn a lot about the Han Dynasty and nothing about restaurants? The AI has a lot more context. It knows that Han Dynasty is a vendor. It knows, how much we paid to Han Dynasty. You can imagine very similar things with, say, the Beam. If you Google the Beam, you learn about a sculpture in Chicago. For the Puzzle AI, it's going to tell you that the Beans is a coffee shop. It's very different, and it keeps you in your existing workflow. So that's something we see people using today. Some other process improvements that we see are around summarizing things. So I asked for a summary of an article talking about how Bloomberg has developed ChatGPT. It's a moderately long, somewhat interesting article. A friend sent it to me. Instead of reading it, I can read this summary, and I've got a pretty good idea what all is happening. Bloomberg has a GPT. It uses off-the-shelf tech. They're going to trade it on their proprietary data. I'm feeling pretty good to go on this one. And I'm not going to read that article. Let's look at one more thing. We talked about Excel here. I've got this set of data, and I know that professional accountants don't spend their time counting fruit and the occurrence of fruit in a column, but it's pretty easy to contemplate that you might find yourself doing something similar and trying to pull out unique transactions in the frequency of occurrence. I think I could figure out, with a little bit of effort, how to set up something that would tell me what were the unique things here, how often did each unique thing occur, and I could probably create a third column that blended those two things together. It's not going to take me all afternoon, but it's not going to be instantaneous either. But I asked AI what it would do, and it just told me. And it gave me the formula, and then it explains it to me. So not only is it giving me the answer, but it's explaining it to me in a pretty clear way that I can maybe have also learned something about how this works. So from there, I can go over here. I'll paste this in. Oh no. Unique. Let me try and grab this again. All right, there we go. So we have it. We know how many apples and bananas, kiwis, oranges, grapefruit, coconut we have. So next time you're trying to do something in Excel or Google Sheets that's just a little bit of a stretch, I'd check out ChatGPT. I'm going to stop sharing here, and I think it's time to open it up for a broader Q&A.
I love it, Evan. Those are really great examples. I had not even considered counting my produce with ChatGPT, so I appreciate that, as well as the communications. But yeah, let's dive into any sort of Q&A that people have. And if there aren't any questions right away, we can just keep an open discussion here.
I think there's some questions in the chat box.
Awesome. Let me pull that up.
Do you want to read them out? Or?
Okay, great. Which bookkeeping tasks are most time consuming and can be automated effectively? Anyone want to jump on that?
Maybe BJ or Megan?
I can
Megan
have
looks
some
excited.
insight into this. Yes. Yeah, I think that there are a lot of bookkeeping tasks that are time consuming and can be automated effectively. The ones that we currently see and automate most frequently are bill pay, expense categorization, fixed asset schedules and depreciation. So creating those schedules and having the recurring depreciation, recurring entries such as prepaid expense amortization entries, any reoccurring invoicing, especially for like SaaS clients where it's a reoccurring invoice amount, and deferred revenue recognition. The deferred revenue recognition, some of these are obviously a little bit more complicated, but they are the items that do take a lot of time as accountants. And so when we can automate those and find ways to automate, it saves us a lot of effort.
Yeah, I say in the future, and they're usually the most complex, are really, it's the balance sheet, particularly the equity and potential liabilities, payroll liabilities, just like Megan said, amortization, depreciation. Those are where most of the mistakes are, and they're also just by the nature of the balance sheet, which is a bit of a drag, is if you make a material mistake in the first month of existence, it carries forward through time. So what we tend to inherit books that have some serious issues with them. So in terms of mistakes being made, that's where we're seeing most of them, and could use help in the future in those areas, certainly.
Yeah, I think anyone who has picked up a bookkeeping client who has some years of history can certainly understand the pain when retained earnings doesn't roll forward, or some other fixed asset schedule that has some ghosts hiding in it.
Exactly. We've come across that all the time.
Awesome. Looks like we have another question here. What are the main concerns and uncertainties regarding adopting AI among bookkeepers? So anyone want to jump on that question? Might be
sorry,
good.
my computer cut out. Could you repeat it, please?
Yeah, absolutely. What are the main concerns or uncertainties regarding adopting AI among bookkeepers?
Yeah, I think that there can be many, but just like to chime in initially right off the bat, I know that a concern is just, making sure that AI is doing things correctly without any material errors. How can we be certain of that? Obviously, we do high-level reviews, but we want to have confidence in the AI that we are using.
Yeah, I think something that I think about in terms of, just the application of AI tools today is like, obviously I had the AI draft an email to my clients. I'm not going to send that email without reading it. I don't know what my answer to that question may evolve over time if I've had the AI draft and the same thing again and again. Some of those cycles may be shorter. Things like the lookup of that formula is something you might see embedded in Google Sheets. I may not need to go to a ChatGPT window to ask how to write that array formula. That might be right in there. So it may be collapsing some of that, but it feels like a lot of that's still going to remain very provable and observable, that I can filter those cells and see that it count them correctly. I can read that email. And I think for us at Puzzle, when we think about like, how do we develop the good AI tools, it's to make sure that we're maintaining that same level of traceability and transparency. So when you use the transaction lookup in Puzzle, we have the AI sort of spell out its thinking, and then we append that to the transaction, so that AI output is always recorded on the transaction, and then it's a user controlled thing as to whether you make the decision that the AI suggests, or you're certainly free to discard it. Maybe Han Dynasty isn't a restaurant at all. Maybe it's a seller of office supplies, and that, and the AI doesn't. Possible, but we want to leave the control with the user.
Absolutely. Andrew, it sounds like you
Yeah.
might have a question for us.
Yeah, I have a question. It's not in the chat, but just on behalf of users that I've talked to. Also, I'm just kind of curious in general. So there's obviously companies are starting to, this is for Lucy, by the way, that are starting to build on top of ChatGPT. So you're going to see it like in different experiences. Evan even showed a little bit of like the Bloomberg GPT, and Puzzle has started to introduce some of the interactions. What is that? What is like? What does it mean to like use ChatGPT within a product, and what are like the differences in what you'd expect versus just what Evan showed was using ChatGPT directly versus using GPT in a product, whether it's Puzzle or otherwise?
Great question.
What is it, as in like, how does it work? Because
not necessarily all the mechanics of how it works, but just as a user, what should I expect in terms of the difference in my experience, and then maybe at like a high level, why would it be different than just if I ask this question directly in ChatGPT?
So there's this whole new field. It's called prompt engineering. And this field has really emerged since ChatGPT emerged in like November. So I would say that this is incredibly early stage, but there are a lot of people work right now trying to figure out like optimizing the kind of responses you get from ChatGPT by modifying the prompts that you send in. So you can get pretty drastically different results depending on like how you formulate a question, or like you can ask it like, hey, give me a CSV output, respond in CSV, and it'll give you a CSV output. Or like there's just all these like little tricks that people are uncovering right now. So I think when you see it embedded in a product, people are going to have spent a lot of time trying to figure out exactly how to formulate each question to get it to produce like a more high resolution version of what that user wants in that particular context, rather than like, just saying something random on the UI. Super early stage. I mean, this is a field that emerged a couple months ago. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's very helpful.
Mhm.
Lucy, your comment about CSV reminded me of one other way that we're seeing a lot of accounting professionals use GPT is to generate clean or structured data from some unstructured data. So if you imagine you have PDFs of bank transactions, those aren't much good to most modern bookkeepers because you're trying to get that information into an accounting system and you can't. But you can just copy, paste that into ChatGPT and say format as CSV, and
Mhm.
it'll give you a CSV. You can then go and upload into your accounting system, and you're ready to go.
We actually have a client who's working on that of inputting volumes of PDFs and then making sense of all the data. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's very good at formatting outputs, like identifying the objects of sentences. Like I've seen ones where like chart generators where you can input all of your data just in text format and it'll identify each part of the sentence that's like a number and this is a label. It's able to parse it and turn it into something data that you can like turn into a chart. Very good at that.
I love it. Well, those are definitely great questions. And as you can tell, this is a really early field and we're just excited to be a part of it at Puzzle. And so if you have any other questions with our last few minutes here, please feel free to post them in the chat. We'll also make sure that you have a way to reach out to us to follow up if you want to learn more about either Puzzle or Burkland. It seems like, we have maybe more questions than answers, but we have some really clear ways that we can also utilize AI right now, including things we've been able to do because at Puzzle, we're really embracing this autonomous accounting idea, whether that's just categorizing and eventually more robust analysis and review, but also, something as simple as rewriting an email or getting help or support in Excel, which I think everyone can really empathize with. So with that, I might ask if anyone else has any sort of closing comments before we give everyone the rest of the afternoon.
This has been super fun. I really enjoyed and excited to do this again.
Yeah, when everything changes in 4 months.
Absolutely.
Exactly. We're going to have to keep ahead of constantly changing technology.
Well, this is where it starts, is identifying where the opportunities are, what's going on, how the technology is changing, continuing that dialogue, and then acting upon it. So we're excited. It's an exciting time. Thank you all.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We will send out these slides with these resources as well. So feel free to follow us on Twitter at PuzzleFin. And we also are on LinkedIn. And DJ, I'm not sure if you have your tweet handle handy to share with us, but happy to share that out too.
Not offhand.
We'll be sure to post it. But
yeah.
Thanks again, everyone, for joining us today, and good luck using ChatGPT and AI, and feel free to stay connected.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.